to ensure that he would deal with this as it is and whip the crack when it matters and not politicize it.
Well, fantastic. Yvonne Nikwe, our lead correspondent in the Eastern region, giving us the latest. And already we can assure you we're streaming live across social media, whether it is on Facebook, it is also on X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, we're always there. Yvonne Nikwe, just make sure that you stay on the stream because coming live from Parliament, proceedings have started. The President is also inspecting the Guard of Honor by way of the procedure and what the protocols do indicate. However, it also gives us an indication that the proceedings are expected to start in earnest. For those on social media, it is also very much important for you to share what your own expectations are for the President in the State of the Nation address. What also is your state of where you are in any part of Ghana? And so the Guard of Honor, the President of the Republic doing that, and that is outside Parliament or outside the chamber. And formally, he then will be ushered into the chamber. And then when proceedings continue, he then will be given the opportunity to begin the State of the Nation address as outlined on the order paper of Parliament for today's proceedings. Importantly, the questions will have to be asked again. Yvonne, when it comes to the critical mass of the people of the Eastern region, we also do know that there are issues of agriculture and irrigation in areas like Asuchare, the Pong areas, etc., for which the President has been promising during the campaign before he became the President that the growth of rice, production of rice, just to make sure that we have that level of import substitution for the products will be undertaken. What really are those expectations from those rice farmers as well as those who tend to use irrigation adequately to be able to farm?
So when it comes to rice farmers at that particular place of mentioning, Asuchare, of course, I must say that we do have a number of rice farmers across some portions of the region as well. They're looking at the agricultural potential being well explored. As we speak now, in
we just have to cut. And Yvonne, thank you very much for this latest update. We straight away will have to go to the Chamber of Parliament, and already outside of the precinct of the Chamber, the President, after inspecting the Guard of Honor, now standing at ease for the national anthem, which is being played. We bring you live pictures. All right, so it also means these, by way of the procedures, remains part of the protocols that the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, just like other presidents before him, have done to make sure that when it comes to the State of the Nation address before Parliament, all these protocols are observed. Now, critical among them, according to our sources within government, are that the President is going to talk about what currently is the state of Ghana's economy, the level of corruption, what also needs to be done in relation to our relationship, and then also the pact we have with the International Monetary Fund, and then also the other Bretton Woods institutions. As you know, we've already had a restructuring of our debt externally with our creditors, and then of course the domestic debt exchange also undertaken right here. And apart from the pomp and pageantry that tends to be accompanying this occasion, it's also important that that is done. So the President then is being ushered into the chamber, and alongside his security detail, he will go through the protocols, and then he will be ushered into the Chamber of Parliament. What has again been confirmed by not only our correspondent Egbeta in the lead is that security is at its utmost optimum, and the Ghana Armed Forces, the Marshal of Parliament, the State Protocols Department, the security details of the Flagstaff House, also making sure that is done. In the chamber itself, proceedings have started. And the president will be sandwiched by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, as well as the Chief Justice Tokonu. And by way of protocol, that also will mean that on the other side, we're going to have also the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana also in sitting position. It is important also to note that with the State of the Nation, this is the first by the President since he was sworn into office, John Dramani Mahama. The State of the Nation is again streaming live when it comes to TV3 Ghana across social media, Facebook, X, YouTube, and all relevant platforms. The House well filled to capacity on the side of the majority, mostly clad in white, and then in the public gallery, according to confirmed report from our correspondent in the House, invitations given out to members of the diplomatic corps, also members of multilateral partners and donors, as well as individuals who have been invited from key institutions like the TUC, here in organized labor, various institutions of state, to make sure that they become part of this process. Now, Dr. Tekpe, you take a look at this, the expectation is very high, and it is what Ghana is currently. And the economy seems to be at the center of the discussions that have dominated all the discussion platforms. Alongside also will be, of course, the concern that they have about perceived anti-corruption or corruption that might have been undertaken by the previous administration, etc. But what should the president talk about when it comes to the economy? He already has indicated that Ghana is like a crime scene. Dr. Tekwe.
Following his comment about the economy, he has to profess so much confidence that indeed the economy has not been well managed as he indicated. However, he has the full force in terms of the people he's appointed, his appointees, that they are capable of helping him to quickly turn the economy, to what everybody wants to see. And so I expect that whilst he gives update on each sector of what the real situation, because this is the State of the Nation address. So we want to see the state of the economy in terms of sector by sector. Then he tells us that what he saw that shocked him, that went wrong, he is going to address it with A, B, C, D. And I think that that is what will bring back the confidence that we all want. So I will let him see that.
Just a few days ago, the conversation, and you're watching again live pictures from the Chamber of Parliament, and as always, what the Marshal of Parliament would do is to make sure, by way of protocol, they put in the maize, and the maize is what is in the middle, that very stuff in there. And then also you'll find that usually as the protocol and the procedure is, on the right of the speaker are seated the majority side of parliament, and then also on the left is the minority side of parliament. Invariably, you will also find that as you watch TV3 live, if you're also listening on 3FM 92.7,
out, sir. CW. Sir. Take post.
Aye, sir. Got your partner. Show. Dead. Up.
Carry on.
Aye, sir.
Speaker.
Honorable members, the House is extremely privileged to have the presence of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces in this August chamber. His Excellency, the President is here in accordance with Article 67 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to deliver a message on the state of the nation to this Honorable House. On behalf of leadership and honorable members, it is my privilege and singular honor to welcome His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to this August House. Honorable members, before I invite His Excellency the President to deliver a message on the state of the nation, I shall recognize the presence in this chamber of the following distinguished personalities. Honorable members, we have to prepare for all eventualities. We have the following distinguished dignitaries with us. Definitely, after welcoming His Excellency the President, he is not here alone. We have the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra. And we have a number of our Lordship, the Justices, with us here. We also have the Chairman of State, our former Right Honorable Eduardo Ajahu. And we have the former President, always present, His Excellency John Ajekum Kufuor. We also have the former First Lady, the evergreen, ever-present, Her Excellency Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings. We have with us the National Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Johnson Asedu Inketia. We also have the National Chairman of the new Patriotic Party, Mr. Stephen Ayensu Inkin. We have the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Phoebe Javi Kwete. And we have the General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party, Mr. Justin Frimpong Kodia. We have, as usual, our Excellencies, the diplomatic corps of the various countries in Ghana. You can see, as usual, they have come in their numbers. We are extremely grateful for your presence. And we have the couples, the heads of the various security services with us. And we have our revered chiefs, queens, and queen mothers with us here. And the various heads of all the religious bodies we have in this country. We'll also have the former clerk to Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel Anyimedu, and the recently outgone former clerk to Parliament, Mr. Stril Kwabena Oteng Insia. Honorable members, in the meantime, this is the list of the dignitaries that I have who are present here with us. May I now, on your behalf, and with the greatest pleasure, invite His Excellency the President to deliver his message. Your Excellency, you may do so now.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker, Your Excellency the Vice President, Your Excellency the spouse of the President, Your Ladyship the Chief Justice, our honorable members of Parliament, honorable members of the Judiciary, distinguished leaders of our security services, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our revered Nime Name, chiefs, traditional rulers, religious leaders, the national chairmen of political parties and executives, the good people of Ghana, I wish you a very good morning. Mr. Speaker, Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution requires that the President address the people of Ghana in whom sovereignty resides on the state of the nation. About 30 years ago, in 1996, I took my first steps in public service when I was elected to this august House as a Member of Parliament for the Bole Bamboy constituency. For 12 memorable years, I forged many enduring friendships and alliances while working with colleagues from both sides of the House to shape Ghana's legislative agenda and advance the development of our beloved country, Ghana. It has also been nearly a decade since I said goodbye to this House after delivering what many, including myself, thought at the time would be my final address to Parliament. God Almighty, Providence, and the unpredictability of life have summoned me here once again. On the back of a historic electoral mandate from the people of Ghana to deliver a message on the state of the nation. That mandate came with an unprecedented majority in Parliament. And here I am once again to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, I wish to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Parliament for the prompt vetting and approval of my nominees for ministerial positions. This efficiency is unmatched in the history of the Fourth Republic, demonstrating the strides we can make when we come together in our dedication to serve the people of our great country. I believe that a similar dispatch will be applied to the approval process for my deputy ministerial nominees. This will enable them to promptly assume office and assist their ministers in delivering our noble vision of resetting our dear nation. In making the nominations and considering the numbers involved, I considered the long expressed sentiment of the Ghanaian people about the sheer size of previous administrations and their associated cost implications. I trust that this significant reduction to 60 ministers and deputy ministers, including regional ministers, will set the stage for further reductions in the size of future governments. With the inauguration of the Council of State, we can begin appointing the staff of the presidency. I intend to significantly reduce the number of staff compared to what existed under previous administrations. All this is aimed at leading by example in cutting down government expenditure and reducing the budget deficit. Let me begin, Mr. Speaker, by invoking the timeless words of the hymnist John Othman Jr., who encourages us to count our blessings and name them one by one. Yes, we're a nation troubled on many fronts, but we also have many blessings, among which is a now firmly established democracy that, for all its imperfections, has enabled 4 peaceful transfers of power in our land. Nestled in a sub-region that is often plagued by strife and political instability, there's a good reason to take sober satisfaction that these successful, peaceful power transfers have become routine. Mr. Speaker, 50 days ago, I took the solemn oath to assume leadership of this country and serve with truth and humility. This was preceded a month earlier by a watershed election that promised to revive our nation's fortunes and give us a new lease of life. The election result gave us an important opportunity to change course and move off the slippery slopes our country had been descending that had caused so much economic pain, suffering, and grief to our people. In their collective wisdom and with resounding clarity, the Ghanaian people chose to chart a new path to reset the country's economy. And through their votes, they made it clear that they will henceforth demand the highest standards of governance from those they put in positions of leadership. The good people of Ghana elected me to office with a historic electoral margin of nearly 1.7 million votes. Separating me from my next opponent, giving Ghanaians the first female vice president, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. For the National Democratic Congress, NDC, that resounding victory is a selfless call to duty from a people who are tired of years of economic hardship and poor governance. That call therefore places an obligation on us and all who serve, including legislators from both sides of the House, to do our utmost with decency and humility to change the circumstances and the state of our country. Mr. Speaker, as I stated earlier, Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution requires that I give an account of the state of our nation to Parliament. I'm sad to report that the state of our nation is not good. Our economy is in crisis, and our people are suffering unprecedented hardships. Mr. Speaker, we will host a National Economic Dialogue on March 3rd and 4th. On March 11th, the Minister of Finance, on my behalf, will present the budget estimates for the financial year 2025 to this August House. These 2 events will allow us to present the real state of Ghana's economic crisis to the people. Mr. Speaker, it is not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. Mr. Speaker, it's not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. My approach is to accept challenges and work hard to resolve them. Indeed, this is precisely what the people of Ghana elected me to do. I have therefore not come here to lament on the state of our country, though there's much to lament about. I understand why I was elected with such high voter confidence, and that is to solve Ghana's problems. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, and within the constraints of time, I'll take the liberty to elaborate on how we intend to address the numerous challenges facing us as a nation. Yesterday, February 26, 2025, marks exactly 10 years since I stood in this chamber at this very spot to declare my determination to fix Dumso, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Yes, I promised to fix it, and I did. And I wish to place firmly on record that from January 2016 until I handed over the administration of this country on January 7, 2017, there was no power rationing or load management in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity. That I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity. My government, working with you and every Ghanaian, will solve the challenges because we have developed the plan with our people's support. When I decided to run for president again, I did so because of what I knew about the state of our country. I was aware that huge problems awaited me upon assumption of office, but nothing could prepare anyone for the reality of the depths to which our economy and our governance had sunk. Our elders say that a frog's true length can be ascertained only after it has died. Apotrowa ni ehune tenten. And how right they were. It is common knowledge that our economy is in dire straits, which is putting it mildly, because an initial assessment of the books we have discovered, after initial assessment of the books, we have discovered that our economic problems are much deeper than was previously known. We have inherited a country that is broken on many fronts. The profundities of the challenges confronting us are staggering. We are saddled with staggering debts and glaring signs of almost deliberate and, in some cases, reckless mismanagement of our resources. Mr. Speaker, not even the restraints of an IMF program were enough for the previous economic managers to exercise prudence in managing our finances. After setting an inflation target of 18% by the end of 2024, the actual outturn was 23.8%, significantly higher than the threshold agreed with the IMF. The Ghana cedi continued its downward slide, losing 19% of its value against the dollar in 2024. It had already in the previous year lost 27.8% of its value. In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana cedis. Ghana Cocoa Board, the hope of cocoa farmers, is also highly indebted. Its balance sheet indicates a total debt of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis, of which 9.7 billion is due to be paid at the end of September 2025. In 2023-2024 crop season, Cocoa Board was unable to supply 333,767 metric tons of cocoa, which it had sold at $2,600 per ton. As a result, the then management of Cocoa Board rolled over these contracts into the 2024-2025 season. Honorable members, Mr. Speaker, this implies that for every ton of cocoa delivered this year, in fulfillment of the rollover contracts, Cocoa Board and Ghanaian farmers are going to lose $4,000 in revenue. Mr. Speaker, as I address this Honorable House, Cocoa Board has supplied 210,000 tons out of the rolled over contract, resulting in a revenue loss of $840 million for both Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer. Mr. Speaker, Cocoa Board and the Ghanaian farmer will lose another $495 million by the time the board finishes supplying the remaining rolled over contracts. Additionally, Cocoa Road commitments alone total 21.7 billion cedis, of which only 4.4 billion is included in the total debt of 32.5 billion. This debt has arisen mainly because of the decision in 2019 and 2020 to award road contracts worth over $1 billion because of the election. Mr. Speaker, the energy sector faces significant financial challenges, primarily due to collection and system losses, non-compliance with the cash waterfall mechanism, and legacy debts. The financing shortfall has risen considerably to approximately $2.2 billion, or 34 billion Ghana cedis for 2025. And urgent measures will be needed to reduce it to sustainable levels and ultimately eliminate it. The financial sector continues to struggle despite the reportedly spending of 29.9 billion on the financial sector cleanup exercise up to date. Scant reserves were also left for debt servicing, despite implementing what may be considered the most severe and distressing economic policy in the annals of the Fourth Republic, if not in the entirety of our nation's history. And I'm referring to the domestic debt exchange program. This is in stark contrast to our actions in 2017 before we left office, when we allocated $250 million to the sinking fund handed over to the incoming government to service debts, Ghana's debts. There have been claims that buffers were left for debt repayment, oncoming debt repayment this year. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me give you the statement of account for the debt service reserve account, which is also popularly referred to as the sinking fund. This fund shows a balance of only $64,000 in the dollar account, $64,000 in the dollar account, and 143 million Ghana cedis in the CD account. The repercussions of the accumulation of debt and economic mismanagement will require extensive work and sacrifice to repair. In the next 4 years, to put things in context for you, Mr. Speaker, in the next 4 years, our debt servicing will amount to 280 billion cedis. And this comprises of 150 billion for domestic debt and 130 billion in external debt servicing. Our catastrophic debt position has also severely impacted infrastructural projects that should have been completed. Currently, there are 55 stalled projects due to the default of debt and subsequent restructuring, with a total value of $2.95 billion not disbursed. The stalling of these projects is expected to result in a cost overrun of about 15 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding this gloomy background, I remain committed to leading this government and taking every necessary step to reset our economy, getting things back on track, and working with the good people of our country to build the Ghana we want. Mr. Speaker, we are doubling our efforts to complete all outstanding structural reforms. Through the budget, We will implement corrective measures to restore fiscal discipline and debt sustainability. We're also working hard towards completing the upcoming fourth review of the IMF-supported program. The review is scheduled from April 2nd to April 15, 2025, and the IMF Executive Board is expected to approve it in June of this year. As we have done previously, we're also building buffers in the sinking fund and adopting prudent debt management practices to ensure prompt repayment of upcoming domestic and external debt maturities. In this respect, government successfully honored the matured coupon payment of $6.081 billion in cash and $3.46 billion in kind, which was due in February 2025 to all domestic debt exchange program bondholders, fully paid. Mr. Speaker, the good news is that we have also built additional buffers in the sinking fund to honor the maturing bonds that are due in July and August. And so bondholders can rest assured that they will be paid to the last pesewa, whatever is owed them. With the transparent and prudent measures we have implemented since taking over the administration of this country, I urge my countrymen and women, business owners, and foreign investors to trust our competence in our economic fortunes around. Mr. Speaker, since we took office on January 7, 2020, the 91 growth. The goal is prosperity for all, which must be shared and not the prerogative of a select few. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people, we have put in place the planning committee to host the National Economic Dialogue. This dialogue is expected to discuss the state of the economy and reach a consensus on the key policies needed to address the devastating economic crisis confronting us. It will support the development of a homegrown fiscal consolidation program, and it will highlight key structural reforms and policy priorities essential for resetting the economy and creating prosperity for all our people. I believe there's absolute wisdom in what our elders say, that 2 heads are better than 1. Tikro and Kwejina. Consultation and consensus building have always proven to be better than unilateral decision making. It is my hope, therefore, that our colleagues on the other side of the divide will display love of country and participate in this national dialogue, unlike the boycott of the Senchi Forum in 2014. I humbly choose a different path of accommodation and cooperation with all stakeholders. We will continuously engage on important issues so that together, as a nation, we can reset our country and focus on sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, together we shall build the Ghana we all want. Mr. Speaker, my administration inherited an energy sector on the brink of collapse. It was weighed down by unsustainable debt. This unfortunate situation has led to many independent power producers and fuel suppliers threatening to cease their operations. Mr. Speaker, listen to this. Despite collecting over 45 billion cedis in energy sector levies, ESLA, over the last 8 years, the outgone administration has left the Ghanaian people with an energy sector burdened with a staggering debt of 70 billion cedis as of December 2024. It is of deep concern that several state-owned enterprises in the energy sector are struggling to stay afloat, and unless urgent interventions are made, many of them will go under. Financial distress in the energy sector remains a significant obstacle to delivering consistent and affordable electricity to Ghanaians, and it poses an existential threat to our economy in general. Compounding these challenges, critical maintenance activities such as the scheduled pigging of the West African gas pipeline, WAPCO, were postponed from 2024 to 2025 without sufficient contingency measures for alternative fuel supply. As a result, my administration has had to swiftly mobilize resources to secure emergency fuel supplies to ensure that electricity generation continues despite the closure of the West African gas pipeline. I've been informed that the pigging exercise will be completed in the first week of March, and once again, additional gas will flow from Nigeria. We are anticipating a marked improvement in the power situation once this begins. While the current state of our energy sector poses grave concerns, we must remain resolute in our commitment to restoring stability. I've directed the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions to implement far-reaching reforms, including enforcing a single revenue collection account, strictly adhering to the cash waterfall mechanism, and eliminating all wasteful expenditures by the state utility. Mr. Minister, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, following my directive, Mr. Speaker, following my directive, the Minister has set up an advisory committee to guide the participation of the private sector in metering and billing in order to improve efficiency in revenue collection and also reduce the high commercial and technical losses that are threatening to drown the state-owned utility company. A pilot partnership between ECG and Enclave Power has proved highly successful and provides us with a workable framework. ECG provides bulk supply of power to Enclave Power Limited. This is an organization in Ghana. Enclave Power provides meters and bills to all companies operating in the free zones enclave, with 99% revenue collection and nearly 100% uptime in power supply. This is being done here in Ghana. We can use it to cover the rest of the nation to ensure that we get revenue compliance and be able to bring down tariffs for our people. Mr. Speaker, I'm still getting used to being president, that's why I said Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, reduction in commercial and technical losses will lead to affordable tariffs for everyone and will bring relief to all users of electric power. We also aim in the medium term to achieve 100% gas utilization for power production and to eliminate completely the use of crude oil and fossil fuels. This will save Ghana hundreds of millions of dollars spent on the importation of fuel oils for power production annually. With regards to renewable energy, this administration will soon operationalize a renewable energy and green transition fund to enhance efficiency and accelerate Ghana's transition to renewable energy. This initiative will drive investments in sustainable energy solutions, including solar street lights, rooftop solar installations, off-grid solar systems, electric vehicle charging stations, and rechargeable outboard motors. These measures will reduce dependence on the national grid and position Ghana as a leader in Africa's green energy transition. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's petroleum sector has witnessed a precipitous decline, with crude oil production sinking by more than 32%. This has resulted from the high opacity levels, a very hostile business climate, and excessive political interference in the sector, culminating in most of the major oil companies exiting and stalling all upstream activities. The decline in upstream activity is obvious to any person familiar with the twin cities of Sekondi and Takoradi. Just under a decade ago, these cities were the bustling epicenter of fabrication, logistics, service activity associated with the upstream oil and gas sector. Unfortunately, my recent visit reveals many shut down facilities and many businesses have packed and left the shores of our country. Hundreds of workers have been laid off and left unemployed. I wish to assure the good people of Sekondi Takoradi and indeed the whole Western region that we are going to breathe life back into your area. Mr. Speaker, we have already commenced revitalization of our upstream petroleum sector by creating a business-friendly and congenial environment for our partners and other prospective investors who wish to come in. My meeting with the players in the upstream sector have been extremely positive, and we have been assured of substantial investments running into billions of dollars in the very near future. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions gave the directive for the removal of the unitization based on the arbitration that took place. We believe that this will open the way for an amicable resolution of the issues between Springfield and ENI. And this should make our oil and gas prospects more attractive to investments going forward. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has fertile lands, abundant water, and human resources. Yet we face a paradox. Our food import bill continues to soar, reaching alarming levels of over $2 billion annually. In addition, rising food inflation is burdening households and threatening livelihoods. To address this, we're implementing several well-considered policies to grow the agricultural sector, including agro-processing. This will be backed by reliable power supply to meet our country's needs while advancing exports to earn foreign exchange and strengthen our economy. Mr. Speaker, the Agriculture for Economic Transformation Agenda, AETA for short, will modernize agriculture, enhance agribusiness, ensure food security, it will lower food inflation, it will boost exports, and create sustainable jobs. The Feed Ghana program will increase food production and reduce prices through projects like the Grain Development Project, focusing on rice, maize, and soya bean production. The Vegetable Development Project will target crops such as tomatoes, onions, and pepper. Our Poultry Farm to Table project will eliminate poultry imports and increase local production. Ghana imports 95% of its poultry needs, which costs over $300 million annually. To reverse this trend, government plans to revamp the poultry sector by investing in hatcheries, feed mills, processing, and distribution, working towards eliminating poultry imports. And this is a good one. The Nkukon Kitinkiti project. We actually have a project called Nkukon Kitinkiti. The Nkukon Kitinkiti project will cover 55,000 households. Using eggs and fresh poultry for the market, and it will help reduce our $300 million we spend on importing chicken annually. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen the connection between agriculture and industry, we will prioritize value addition, processing, and distribution, and this will position agriculture as profitable and appealing, making it more attractive to our young people. We will implement an Agri-Next program to facilitate access to land banks by young farmers, to connect graduates with opportunities in the agricultural value chain, and promote greenhouse agriculture among the youth. This initiative will benefit approximately 30,000 young people. Mr. Speaker, the Livestock Development Project will also address Ghana's reliance on imported meats by restocking breeding farms and increasing local livestock production, thereby creating jobs and boosting self-sufficiency. For years, access to mechanization, quality seeds, fertilizer, and extension services has been a major challenge to our farmers. To address this, government will establish our flagship farmers service centers in every agricultural district, ensuring that farmers receive essential mechanization services and resources to improve their productivity and efficiency. Mr. Speaker, also in the fisheries sector, we implement strategic interventions to enhance productivity and sustainability. Key among these initiatives is the continued enforcement of measures to curb illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, which threaten our marine biodiversity and the livelihoods of our hard-working fisher folk. We have intensified surveillance and monitoring operations, bolstered by the deployment of modern technology and strengthened collaboration with our key stakeholders. In the last month, we have expanded the supply of subsidized premixed fuel to support artisanal and industrial fishers, ensuring affordability and availability. We will also invest further in modern fish landing sites and cold storage facilities to improve post-harvest handling and thereby reduce losses and enhance the quality of our fish products. Aquaculture development is a key focus of our administration. We will provide financial and technical support, especially to young fish farmers, increasing fish production and reducing our dependence on fish imports. To increase the value addition in this sector, we'll encourage the establishment of fish processing facilities, create more jobs, and boost exports. Our commitment to supporting women in the fisheries sector remains steadfast as we implement the programs to empower female fish processors and traders with financial capital and capacity building initiatives. While we work hard to fix the economy and provide jobs in all sectors, including agribusiness, one of the biggest crises we face in this country is youth unemployment. Youth unemployment has led to despair and frustration. The latest estimates show that up to 2 million of our young people are unemployed. This poses a major security risk for our country and requires urgent attention. To bring much-needed focus to the desperate and widely scattered youth employment programs and to ensure stricter accountability in their implementation, I have set up the Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment in furtherance to the promise I made in the campaign. This ministry, that is the Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment, is mandated to formulate, coordinate, and monitor policies and programs to promote youth development and empowerment in this country. Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished. It is estimated that the criminal addition of some more than 80,000 ghost names could have yielded the suspects over 50 million Ghana cedis every month. Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted and their assets traced and frozen until investigations are completed. To achieve a legally robust regime to govern national service, I've also tasked the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment to coordinate and present to Parliament a legislative instrument to support the implementation of the newly passed National Service Authority Act 2024. That's Act 1119. We will introduce short military training as part of our national service scheme. This will instill a sense of fitness and discipline into our youth. The administration of scholarships is another challenge. It has been fraught with a lot of challenges. The poor who genuinely need scholarships are unable to access them because the rich and wealthy always crowd them out. To fulfill our government's vision of promoting transparency, equity, and sustainability in the scholarship scheme, we shall streamline the award process to ensure that not only deserving youth benefit from the system, deserving youth benefit from the system. We shall introduce increased transparency, including publishing the list of beneficiaries every year. Mr. Speaker, job creation is one of our main pillars, and it was one of the major promises we made to the youth of Ghana. To help actualize this promise, we're going to roll out what we call the Ejumawura program. This initiative will create, track, and mentor young businesses annually with a special focus on our youth. For the first phase, the top 2,000 implementable business proposals will be supported with business development training, mentorship, access to startup capital, marketing, and networking to operationalize their innovations and business ideas. We will also launch our flagship National Apprenticeship Program to equip at least 10,000 young people in the informal sector with employable skills, including providing apprenticeship fees and startup kits when they have completed. The Youth Development and the Interior Ministries will facilitate the training of our young people in the Okada business. In areas such as road safety regulations, financial literacy, and digital skills, as well as facilitating the acquisition of motorbikes. We will introduce electric motorcycles on a hire purchase scheme to eliminate the use of petrol and make their businesses more profitable. Mr. Speaker, Her Excellency the Vice President's Empowerment for Women and People with Disabilities program will also be launched this year. The program will target women and people with disabilities and other vulnerable groups to build their capacity and offer them access to finance to create their own jobs. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations will also focus on developing youth IT skills and fostering innovation. Under the 1 Million Coders program, young people receive training in coding, web app development, digital marketing, and other digital skills. This initiative aims to equip them with the necessary skills for employability in the digital ecosystem. We must provide meaningful and relevant education to prepare our youth for today's technology-driven job market. Despite various reforms, issues related to low-earning incomes persist within Ghana's educational system. I'm committed to ensuring that quality education remains a top priority. The system we have inherited is outdated in many ways and must be realigned to meet the needs of the 21st century and the fourth industrial revolution. Recognizing the urgent need for national dialogue on education and in the spirit of inclusive governance, I launched the National Education Consultative Forum on February 18th in Ho. I look forward to the recommendations which we will incorporate into our sectoral policy reforms. Mr. Speaker, even though Article 38 of the Constitution guarantees equitable access to education across Ghana, 30 years after the Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education FQ program was implemented, its full objectives remain unmet. To tackle this issue, government will redefine the scope of basic education and introduce the Zero to Hero initiative to enhance foundational literacy and numeracy. Additionally, ICT training will be integrated into early childhood education at the basic level. Over the next 3 years, it will be expanded to cover at least 300 classrooms, 30 centers of excellence, 1,000 teachers and district teacher support teams, focusing on the teaching of mathematics and literacy. This year, the Ministry of Education will fully implement a new curriculum for senior high technical schools and STEM schools, introduce a standardized national sign language for hearing impaired learners from kindergarten to SHS, and review the kindergarten and primary school curriculums. To increase access to quality education, we will scale up our social intervention programs like the capitation grants, the feeding grants for special schools, and the government's BECE registration initiative. Mr. Speaker, to promote inclusion and equity, the government will enhance and resource the Islamic Education Unit to recruit more Islamic and Arabic tutors for English-Arabic schools. We will establish STEM and TVET schools in underserved and peri-urban communities. We will provide scholarships to brilliant but needy students in deprived communities, especially for study in law, medicine, and engineering. We will support Islamic colleges of education with infrastructure and logistics, and will enroll youth in Zongo and deprived urban communities in the National Apprentice Program and offer free technical and vocational training. Mr. Speaker, it is important to continue to retain and motivate our teachers in all schools, especially in the rural areas. Government will begin plans for the implementation of the 20% allowance for teachers who agree to serve in rural schools. District assemblies are going to be involved in this scheme to ensure that the teachers are present and teaching in the schools that are selected. This scheme will reward such teachers for their sacrifices and ensure quality education nationwide, not only in urban centers. Mr. Speaker, as part of our Teacher Dabre initiative, the construction of teacher accommodation units to improve welfare and attract teachers to rural areas will commence this year. Mr. Speaker, no new school will be built in this country without teachers' accommodation. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, once again for emphasis and for the record, I, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will not cancel the free SHS program. I will not cancel the free SHS program. I am determined to make it better by improving its implementation. And also, for the record, students who have benefited from the free SHS since its inception are about 3.4 million. The figure of 5.1 million beneficiaries, as put out by the previous administration, was an exaggerated and false narrative calculated to achieve political credit. Mr. Speaker, while the free SHS program has improved access, the implementation of the program leaves much to be desired. The outcomes of the ongoing National Education Forum will guide our reform efforts in this sector. Mr. Speaker, in line with our promise, the Minister for Education has announced the restoration of Parent-Teacher Associations, PTAs, in the running of schools. It is important for parents and communities to participate in the administration of their schools. The Ministry of Education and GAS will, however, ensure that PTAs do not impose unbearable financial burden on parents and students who cannot afford them. Mr. Speaker, the double track system remains a challenge, and we are committed to eliminating it by accelerating school infrastructure expansion and completing stalled educational projects. To fund this, the Education and Finance Ministries are working to uncap the GET Fund so that we can accelerate projects in secondary schools. As promised, we have begun improving secondary school feeding, and the children are getting better quality food as I address you. Mr. Speaker, efforts to decentralize school feeding and food management include strengthening procurement and store management records capacity. Once completed, food procurement and management will be fully handed over to the secondary schools to do their own food procurement. Mr. Speaker, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are central to national development, STEM. We'll therefore expand STEM programs at all levels to equip all students for the global economy. We don't believe in building single standalone STEM schools. We believe that STEM must be part of the curriculum of every secondary school. Mr. Speaker, regional TVET centers of excellence will be established to provide practical skills. Every region will get a TVET center of excellence to expand technical and vocational education training. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, Ghana has consistently missed its gross tertiary enrollment targets, with the rate below 22%, far from the 40% goal that has been set by 2030. Despite over 460,000 secondary graduates coming out annually, 55% qualify for tertiary education, and only 35%, 161,000 of the 460,000 enroll in tertiary education, leaving over 300,000 without access. To address this, government is introducing fee stress policy to eliminate tertiary admission fees, which currently serve as a barrier to higher education for some students. This will be supported by an enhanced student loan scheme, which is called the Student Loan Plus. The no-fee policy will also cover all persons with disabilities. And for emphasis, persons with disabilities will pay no fees for tertiary education throughout their study. And so PWDs who gain admission to tertiary institutions will pay no fees. Additionally, TVET enrollment will be increased from 11% to 20% to boost employment. Mr. Speaker, rising enrollment has strained university infrastructure, causing overcrowding and inadequate accommodation. We are determined to expand access, improve quality, and align tertiary education with national goals, particularly in STEM. feasibility studies for new public universities or campuses of existing universities to be established in the 6 new regions will commence this year. Seed funding for these projects will come from the GET Fund in order to enhance access. Governments will this year engage with the existing public universities to identify suitable sites on their campuses, acquired lands, for the implementation of the private sector participation in the provision of hostels project. This is a partnership between government, the universities, and private investors to expand hostel capacity on their campuses. This will allow more students to be accommodated on the campuses to allow for a better learning environment. Mr. Speaker, academic freedom will be upheld. We will not interfere in the administration of our tertiary universities. And our hope is that the institutions will ensure good governance in their administrative practices. Mr. Speaker, next, our health sector faces significant challenges that jeopardize the very foundation of affordable health care. The Ministry of Health has a total liability of nearly 15 billion cedis when co-financing obligations, judgment debts, and payments to clear medical commodities at the ports are all put together. The last major hospital equipment replacement program was undertaken in 2014 when I was president. Since then, most hospital equipment in the Ghana Health Service facilities have deteriorated or broken down. Mr. Speaker, the Agenda 111 program, which was started as a knee-jerk reaction during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Ghanaian public had begun to appreciate the significant investments that the previous NDC administration had made in healthcare facilities, and began to lament the many hospital projects that had stalled under the previous administration, a promise was made to build 111 hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad to note that there is no dedicated funding source for such a gargantuan project. There is no dedicated funding source for this gargantuan project. Mr. Speaker, for the record, as I speak, not a single Agenda 111 hospital is operational. In any part of Ghana, I challenge you, not one is operational. Mr. Speaker, and it is worth disclosing, that $400 million has already been disbursed under the Agenda 111 project. Mr. Speaker, at a rate of approximately $80 million per hospital, this $400 million spent could have completed and made operational at least 22 of those hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the money should have been focused on completing a number of hospitals and making them operational instead of spreading it over the current 111 hospitals. As I speak, some are at the foundation level and not a single one is operational. I have directed the Minister for Health to present us with a plan on the way forward for this program. And let me add that we are open to public-private partnerships and franchising to complete and operationalize these hospitals. Mr. Speaker, one of the most pressing issues confronting our health sector today is the USAID's sudden 90-day pause in services without prior notice and the looming threat of complete withdrawal of programs that do not align with the USA's strategic interests. Programs that will be affected include the delivery of medical commodities to regional medical stores and health facilities in the Upper West, Upper East, Northern, and Savannah regions. USAID support for the National HIV/AIDS Control Program includes the supply of antiretroviral therapies in the Western, Western, North, and Afro regions. These will also be affected. The withdrawal puts at risk approximately $78 million in earmarked funds for malaria, maternal and child health, nutrition, and HIV/AIDS. It also covers some programs being run at the Noguchi Memorial Institute in research. The impact will be challenging without urgent intervention. I've therefore directed the Minister of Finance to make immediate financial arrangements to mitigate this loss. And I expect that this will be reflected in his budget, which will be presented to this House next month, on March 11th. Working with the NHIA, will revive the Onuado mobile healthcare vans. These vans will provide